This is Salvia chiapensis, Chiapas Sage. It's from upper elevations cloud forest of Mexico. And that kind of follows that this really prefers milder situations. You're looking at it with this lovely hummingbird enjoying it in Santa Barbara, California. So it's literally across the street from the ocean. Very mild temperatures, 60s to 70s Fahrenheit most of the year. And I've seen this and grown this in other areas. I live in a hot inland valley in Northern California where it's dry during the summer and very little humidity, and gets in around 90 degrees on a regular basis during the summer, and in the winter it is in the mid 20s Fahrenheit. This plant doesn't perform near as well where I am as you see here. So two things: it doesn't like to freeze, and although it can handle frost down to around 20 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you don't have that frost, you're just going to get better performance overall. What you're looking at here, by the way, is just some close-ups. There's those beautiful flowers, that intense crimson pink, and hummingbirds just love this plant. Most of the time I was filming this, that hummingbird right there was hanging around, as was another one. So great hummingbird attractor. And what you can see here too is that it just has kind of a loose structure to it. I showed some of the understory of the plant, but generally this is a floppy kind of plant. It does not have much structure at all. The flower stems kind of lay over, as you can see here, because they're not very woody. They're fairly herbaceous. And let me just talk about the size. This one's about 3 to 4 feet high, but it's got a wall there that it's leaning against. Generally, these are about 2 to 2.5 feet high in my experience. And there was another area here in this planting where they didn't have support, and they were right about that 30 inches high, plus or minus. And again, see this planting here, you see how they're kind of crisscrossing all over the top of one another. So in design, you just want to make sure that that's appropriate for what you're after. You are not going to get a structured look. This is nice in a more natural layered feel, and I think that's how you're going to get the most out of the plant. Water, it's lower water once it's established, but honestly it looks better with some regular water. Here's that woody structure underneath once the plant's matured somewhat. These are evergreen in milder areas like I mentioned, but if you get into an area where there's frost like I have, probably the best thing to do with these is cut them down during the winter. The foliage looks pretty ragged anyway. We cut them and then they come back the following spring. These are on the edge of liking that at all. I mean, in hot inland areas, I would use these in shade and part shade. They're going to look their best, and then give them some regular water. I would space these probably 3 feet on center from 1 or 5 gallon containers. I prefer 5s because the frost really slows down the growth of this one. So if you start with a larger plant, you're just going to get more out of it faster. And I don't use big groupings, but I've seen groupings, and these can look pretty good that way. Again, if they're evergreen, then I think that's a good approach in a design, but if you're in a colder area where they get hammered in the winter, that's a big space that has nothing in it during the winter. So I would use smaller groupings in that situation. I'm not sure about deer with this one. Most of the salvias are left alone by deer, but I don't have experience with this one, so I can't speak to that. So that's what I can tell you about Salvia chiapensis. Oh, by the way, so full sun and part shade in coastal areas where it's milder. Otherwise, I'd say part sun or part shade to shade in hot inland areas. To follow are some nice companion plants for Salvia chiapensis, Chiapas Sage. Enjoy.